was designed to level the playing field for Americans whose ancestors had been discriminated against. Primarily this meant black applicants. Yet 50 years after affirmative action began, the percentage of African Americans in many elite colleges appears to be dropping, even as schools boast about being diverse. How is that happening? Simple. Foreigners are taking their place. Under the rules of race-conscious admissions, the son of a Nigerian tycoon meets the same standards and checks the same box as the son of a single mother from the south side of Chicago. Both are black, so for the purposes of diversity goals, they're exactly the same. But in fact, they're not the same at all. One is poor, American, and descending from people brought to this country by force. You probably want to help that kid. The other is a rich foreigner, well-connected, and far more likely to have attended a selected private school. He doesn't need your help. Yet who has a better chance of leveraging diversity standards to get into Harvard? You know the answer. The rich kid does. He gets an advantage he hasn't earned and doesn't deserve, and that's a win for him. Harvard wins too. It gets to brag about being inclusive. Meanwhile, the kid on the south side of Chicago doesn't go to college at all. This is happening in schools all over this country, and the trend is accelerating as immigration accelerates. A 2007 study found that among black students at the top 20 American universities, the percentage of immigrants was about double the representation in the broader population. At Ivy League schools, students from immigrant families accounted for fully 41% of black freshmen. At Harvard, study figures earlier found that 2/3 of all black undergraduates were from immigrant backgrounds. This is the opposite of what affirmative action was designed to do. And over time, the definition of who is eligible for affirmative action has expanded even further, moving even farther away from where it began. In many places, illegal aliens now qualify for lower admission standards. Universally identifying them as Hispanic rather than white gives applicants the equivalent of 130 points on the SAT. So this is a huge advantage for newly arrived immigrants over native-born Americans.
And we all, some folks, what it means for Africa, mean no, the Africans are fighting. Everybody's doing it. It's for the descendants of enslaved Africans in America. And they're diluting us in terms of our history. Not our race of people being here. When they say in the schools, we got to study history, LBGT. And you say, yeah, well, wait a minute. You ain't study American history. You got to study about black. That's why they don't study history in school no more, or civics and all that stuff. You haven't said nothing about that. You run your hollering, and your schools are the worst things in the world. If somebody don't fight for their babies, education is economic. Economic is education. We let another generation get wasted. They're getting wasted because the education in the black schools are terrible. People can march for pay and do anything they want to. But these that you go walk those schools, it's terrible. When Trump said they're going to release money to try to get cafeterias in school. These new schools got cafeterias. They have food. They don't have nobody bringing this salted food that's making these children get diabetes and high blood pressure at an early age. There's so much stuff, even when you said rats in the schools, and this in the schools, and then you have Magic Johnson who partied with somebody else, and he still haven't said nothing about the rats in the schools. I don't know if your children don't move you, what's going to move you? If you don't fight for your babies, but you can go out there and march and holler and scream and hate for something else. Come on, y'all. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. So we're going to be talking today to you. I'm mad about what they did to Kanye. I'm really disappointed that the chest pulled back. That's crazy. They beat the stew out of you. Straight, smart. Don't let nobody fool you. Hello?
Hey, this is a Pookie.
Okay, Cookie, I hit the wrong one. You just called. I'm supposed to get the one that been there a long time. Put Cookie back on hold. I got to get the next one who's been here for almost half an hour. The folks who've been calling for I try to go in the line and things that I'll call. Hey, Mama D.
People say that.
So how you doing?
My people have been led astray. And my question is, wasn't it black leaders who told us to fight for the rights of immigrants because some of them was black, and fight for the rights of homosexuals, and fight for the rights of white women because all
they the one that leading us there.
Minority. Wasn't it them that did that?
Yeah, and they're still doing that.
Exactly. We got to get the narrative straight. What is that narrative? I am a crimes against humanity descendant. Don't put me in no other bag but that one. I am a survivor of Jim Crow genocide. Don't put me in no bag but that one. I am a native black American, indigenous person in this country, and everybody is claiming this country but us.
And it's ours. It's ours. And we out there like today, they out there meeting the migrants. Them folks coming in like gangsters. Saying you better let us in. And black folks believe in that. Ain't no Haitians. Did nobody go to blacks didn't go meet the Haitians when they was turning them ships over? There ain't no black folks coming from the Americas. We just get led by like I don't know what. The same way they done Kanye West, and the same way that they bag Chance up. You know, it's like, it's really terrible that these folks they are mobs. And they do say, you can't have nothing. They come out, who are you to try to get a black community? Who are you to try to get a business? We're sending our own people after you. We're going to stop this mess. It don't make no sense. Thank you, Kufu. Thank you. It's,
This is our land.
That's right. And they taking our land, too.
No, they took our land from us.
Right.
I got over 200 acres of land in America. That's for my family. The rest of us get our land taken from us. They gave us the Bible and took the land. Now we lost in the Bible.
The Bible ain't got nothing to do with them taking the land.
No, what I'm saying is, people right now all over the country, those who are Indian, those who are Native blacks, those who are Aborigines, we're not asking for no paper. We're not asking for no money.
Well, you know the natives, the Indians got reparation. They got free schools. They got the darn casino. It is the descendants of enslaved Africans in America do not have it, and the native, the freedmen does not have it. And we do have a right now. This land question is really deep because most of the older black people who've been trying to hold on to this land, they dying off and their children just selling it off, getting money.
The white folks are living they're living our life right now in America on these farms. They got these children on these farms. They're growing their food right now. Look, go on the internet. They're living our lifestyle right now. They're living our life right now. They know it.
Thank you, Cool.
Okay? And now things have changed because of the last events in Central America, like Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala.
Yeah.
Okay, those people are in the need of immigrating to this country because remember that back in the 80s, there were some people allowed to come here, to the United States, as refugees. So those people make money and they pay somebody to bring their relatives here. So the illegal immigration is never going to stop because as long as there is corruption at the border and beyond the border, illegal immigration is not going to stop. And you see it now because now Mr. Trump changed his tune about us immigrants, and now he's going to bring guest workers. I've met guest workers when I traveled back to Mexico on a plane or whatever. They are hired to come here, let's say from April through September, and they go back to Mexico, and because of the requirement of the visas, and they are very well paid, $14 an hour, $11 an hour. Those guest workers are not coming here to make little money, and this hasn't been understood by a lot of people who do not want or think that we just
want to come here and stay here.
No, we are, as I told you at the beginning in the 1940s, we are invited to come to the United States. Now, people from Central America, it's a different story.
Oh, because they're living in hell.
Because after the wars in 1980,
Yeah, Guatemala and all of that.
those countries were left just to their,
On their own. They have no infrastructure. They have nothing. You're absolutely right about that.
Now, let me tell you something.
Well, let me take this break, and this will be our last one. 11:49 on the Talk to Chicago. I'll try to get to as many phone calls as I can when I come back. Stay with us.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if the gentleman had a definition of racism. Has it affected the community, yes or no? And do they perceive that it's affected the black community? Saludos y Dios lo bendiga, señor.
All right, thank you so much. Go right ahead.
Well, first of all, discrimination is not a big part of our stories in life. Okay? Because in Latin America, I think that there's more discrimination in Latin America than in the United States for the people who will come here.
Especially black people.
No.
Black Latinos.
Latinos. Not black, but Latinos at all.
Well, black Latinos are treated pretty poorly in places like Brazil.
But not in Mexico. In Mexico, you have communities of black communities.
Black Mexicans.
Right, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the state of Veracruz, and also in the state of Guerrero, by Acapulco. Okay, and if you talk to any of those people, they would never tell you they are discriminated by anybody.
Really?
The people who are more discriminated in Mexico, it's just the regular.
Are the rural people.
Right.
Well, listen, Fernando, it's been so nice to talk to you. We're going to have to do.
What happens if your own government is using more force and more coercion on its own citizens for the purpose of achieving its political ends? Is that government engaged in terrorism?
American people expect us to protect them and protect their civil liberties. I'm going to do that.
What is being sold to the American people today as Americanism, if you peel off the label, you find so much similarity to what we were fighting against when we were fighting communism and Nazism and fascism.
The government's now putting a national ID card together.
We will be carrying our papers, and they have recommended there be checkpoints throughout the country. Some type of physical proof, such as fingerprints or retinal prints, have to be on it.
Desires of the people really have no consequence. They go out and they vote. Doesn't make any difference which candidate they elect.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections? Yes.
This is absolutely Orwellian. I mean, it's talking about Big Brother looking over your shoulder at absolutely everything we do.
There is no constitutional basis for a tax on the wages of Americans living and working in the 50 states of the Union. Period. End of argument.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
You caught me unprepared.
I'll come back.
Well, I don't want to do that.
There had to be a law, right?
Where is the law? Show me the law.
Why is the Supreme Court decision silly argument?
And I think we're finished.
They think it's the law, and they have all the guns. It's an authoritarian approach.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order.
The latest technology for identifying people when they make purchases is actually the implantable chip that you can actually embed directly into human flesh.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? You will rule on that, mark my words.
A chip in everybody would be the universal monetary system par excellence, because there'd be no escape from it.
Americans have been taught to expect their salvation from government instead of recognizing government as the most dangerous threat they'll face in their lives.
I'm a good filmmaker. I know how to make movies. Yeah. And I also understand what's happening politically. And when I saw many things that happened in this country, I've been hearing rumors for years that there's no law that requires you to pay a federal income tax on your labor. Yeah. So I decided to investigate that. I called the IRS. I said, is there such a law? They directed me to their website, and there was no law there.
Yeah, but they throw you in jail if you don't.
Well, that's a police state. We're supposed to be a country of law, right? And so in my research, to find out whether there's any law that requires you to pay a tax on your labor, I discovered the chain of events and how it works. Let me explain it to you. In 1894, Congress tried to pass a tax on your labor, and the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional and you cannot do it. In 1913, they passed an amendment to the Constitution, the 16th Amendment, which they said allowed that. Now, first of all, in reality, the amendment was never even ratified legally. But let's put that aside.
The so-called graduated income tax.
Right, the graduated income tax. That's right. They said it was never even ratified, but let's put that aside. That was 1913. The same year the Federal Reserve was born.
Absolutely.
Because in 1916, between then and 1923, there were 8 Supreme Court decisions that said the 16th Amendment did not give the government the authority to tax the labor of the people. So when I interviewed the IRS commissioner in my movie, we went through a whole series of questions, and I finally said to him, what about the Supreme Court decisions that say you can't do what you're doing? And his answer to me was startling. He said, Supreme Court decisions are inapplicable to the IRS. What?
What?
The IRS is above the law? No, they're not above the law. So there is no legal constitutional basis to have a direct, unapportioned tax on the labor of the American people. It's a fraud, but they pay it because they're scared not to. Just like any criminal protection racket.
Of course.
If they're going to put you in jail, they're going to scare you, but it's not by law. It's by force.
You pay yours?
I file.
Yeah.
I do file. I tell everybody to file because I don't want to see them.
No.
Because the Negro didn't make the game. See, as long as someone is giving you something, he can always take it back. And this is the mistake this is where our people are making the mistake. We are sitting, waiting for whites. Nobody gets the Negro I don't mean it in that sense. Either in court or out of court, we've been sitting and waiting for the man to give us some concessions. Now, whenever you ask if you're asking the white power structure for jobs, that's only a temporary solution. If you ask the white power structure for housing, that's a temporary solution. As Mr. Farmer said, where the Negro used to ask for equality, now he's asking for more. He's asking for more than equality. Well, likewise, if they give us more than equality, 10 years from now we're going to be asking for more than that because the problem has still not gotten a real solution. Just one moment, let me finish what I'm going to say. As long as we accept a temporary solution, the problem will go unsolved. It'll be solved for you and me right now, but not for our children. If the black nations in Africa, most of which have a less number of educated Africans than exist among black people in this country, yet they can establish their own independent nations and try and create a future for their people, then Mr. Muhammad says here in America there are enough black people who profess to be educated, and with all this talk about equality with the white man, if we're equal with the white man, why can't we separate from him and set up our own government and go for ourselves and solve our own problems?
Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, signed by Dwight Eisenhower June 29, 1956. It stretched out some 41,000 miles of new interstate highway. The main purpose of it, according to the U.S. government, was to protect the U.S. against an attack. But I know you can all remember the bombing of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Negro Wall Street, how they brought the military planes in and just leveled the playing field. Communist Control Act of 1954, signed by Dwight Eisenhower on August 24, 1954, which outlawed the Communist Party of the United States and criminalized membership. According to the National Archives, it had been a great fear of the U.S. government that they had been infiltrated military-wise. The act was one of many bills drafted with the intention of protecting American government from potential threats posed by the international communists during this time. This bill had also targeted many Negro Indian organizations such as the NAACP. Dr. Martin Luther King nonviolence approach was a great weapon against this act. This approach set him up tremendously for the Civil Rights Act of 1968.